you can actually you can make a decision that if you spend initial time in a Big Four, how it prepares you for industry, how it prepares you for the world. And in the last 5 to 8 years, the world has changed constantly. And with the advent of artificial intelligence and different technologies, everybody is wondering now how it is going to help and how we are going to navigate through this challenge. Ayushi is right now into the thick of action of all this because she is right now working into the consolidation of various corporations at multinational level. So she's understanding all the complications and challenges. Ayushi, if I am mistaken and if I'm giving anything wrong information, you are open to correct me because that is what I remember. You were working earlier with Caterpillar, then Weatherford.
Yes,
Am
correct.
I correct?
Yeah, correct, sir.
So today I am not taking the session from office. I am on an audit location. So in that case, my background and my situation is a bit different. But yes, I am there. And Ayushi has a presentation deck to run along with what she's going to deliver to you. I would request all of you to have your questions ready, but allow her also to speak first and then she can answer your questions. And yes, you can put your questions in the chat. And my team member Pooja also should be there. Pooja, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. So Pooja Sharma is also one of my team members. Pooja, you are also a co-host. At any point of time, if I am not visible or if I am missing out on any question, because I am at a client location and in a client discussion actually. So please spare me and then help out Ayushi to get these questions answered. Correct? So without taking much of your time and much of ado, I straight away put Ayushi. Ayushi, you can share your PPT
Sure.
also.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. I will just.
Started screen sharing.
Yeah,
Yes, it's visible. Building a powerful career in industry as a chartered accountant.
yeah, sure.
You can
I'm
enable the
just.
slideshow.
Yeah, I'm just doing that. I hope it's visible now.
Participants, if is it visible, can you give me a yes or no? I've got few good active kids with me. Hitesh, Kartavya, Shruti, Khushbu. Yes.
Okay, thank you
Great.
so much.
Please take your notes, friends, and ask your questions, but allow Ayushi to also speak.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Over
So,
to you.
thank you. So, I start first of all congratulating all of you for clearing the exam. So, I know it's been, just few days after the result, and you might be thinking that this is the time we should relax, but everybody around you is like, where did you apply? What did you do? You're already late. But let me tell you, you are not at all late. You still have time to decide. So that is what we are doing here, right? We are figuring out what we should do before finalizing where we should go in the starting phase of our clearing of CA, right? So you are not at all late. So you still have time. So just get it out of your mind that you are all late in applying at least. First, figure out where you want to go and what are your interests, and then decide based on that, where you actually want to what you actually want to pursue, whether it's a Big Four industry, and in industry also what profile you want to pursue. So just get that out of mind and just relax for few days. Like enjoy your results. Like it's not that you are late. You still have ample amount of time, and you have cleared such a big exam. So you should have time to celebrate on that. So don't worry on that part. With that note, I'll just give a brief about myself, and then I will start with the actual roles in industry and what kind of industries are there and what kind of roles industry offers you after clearing your chartered accountancy, and what is the expectations like industry has from a fresh CAs, right? You should know that before proceeding for any job rather than industry, Big Four or anything. So all those things I'll be taking forward, but before beginning with that, I'll just give a short synopsis about myself, like how I started from a Big Four and how I moved to the industry, so that you can get an idea that you're not stuck once you start. It's just the beginning. You can any day change your profile, whatever, if you don't like something, if you feel monotonous, because you have cleared such an exam that it gives you an option to and a leverage that you can be anywhere as per your choice. Like you're not bounded anywhere, right? So with that, I'll start with my career journey. So initially, as Sir mentioned that, I was part of that Deloitte drive, which Sir organized. Through that, I got placed in Deloitte Bangalore, whereby, I handled multiple audits. And like that was the first time, as you for some of you also it might be a first time, after clearing that, you might be moving to a different city and starting with everything afresh. So that is like the initial point. You learn how to settle in a city, how to start with a new work, because sometimes not everybody has a big four articleship exposure, right? So the things are different there. So how do you manage that, being coming from a mid-sized firm or a small-sized firm to a big four, what you manage? So those all things, how it went through. So there were multiple challenges, obviously, but you have to be having an open mindset before you go anywhere in any of the companies. Like, like you in the initial phase, you learn a lot. So you have to have that mindset that, I'll not work 9 to 5 like similar to what other jobs has, right? So our job and studies both are such a way that they demand from us initially. So we have to be prepared mentally, even though it's big four, even though it's industry, wherever we go, because generally there's a misconception that, even when we work in big four, there's a slogging and all those things are there, but industry is pretty much chill. But let me tell you one thing here, industry also demands certain work hours from you in the initial period, because you are in the learning phase, right? So you have to be prepared for it. So it is nowhere different. Obviously, you get that privilege anywhere you go of weekends off. But if you're in the learning phase, you have that zeal to learn. Obviously, if you work at a certain beyond hours, you will get to learn more. I'm not saying that you need to slog, even if like you need to be prepared for it mentally, that choosing industry does not give you the exception of that big four working hours. So this is just a caveat before you start with working in industry. That is one reality check I wanted to give you. So I started with Deloitte, and then I had the option to move to industry, where I worked with Caterpillar for a certain amount of time in multiple roles like legal entity controllership, then managing their transitions, then internal controls team, SOX team, which I will talk about in the further slides, like all about these different roles, what they offer you and what is expected out of you in these different roles. And also a certain point in FP&A role, and then I moved to Weatherford, where I worked in statutory reporting role. And currently, I am in a role of consolidation reporting, where I work as a part of corporate finance team to consolidate the US books for my particular company, and also handle a certain area related to M&A. And I let me tell you, it was all through, like support, the team support and everything. But if you are willing to learn, people are good, they'll help you to grow as well. So this is all about my journey, that, you have to build up your credibility once. And once you get that, it's a piece of cake for you to move ahead in your career as well. So yeah, this was in crisp about myself and how I started. And so coming on to our main topic, industry. Like people generalize that, we want to go to industry, but which industry, right? There are sort of like different bifurcations in the industry also, right? Which are very different in terms of operations and everything. Like I have not plotted everything here, but if you see in the major category per se, there are three classifications: the manufacturing industry, the IT industry, and the banking industry. More or less, I have worked currently with manufacturing industry, so I will be able to give you a idea relating to manufacturing backgrounds here, or relating to manufacturing companies. I believe banking sector, sir, has already covered in few of his different other lectures, other sessions maybe. So that might give you a fair idea about the banking sector. And IT sector, the roles are pretty much the same. It's just that few additional role demands some exceptional expertise in IT. But more or less manufacturing and IT at the initial stage, if I talk about, the roles remains the same, which I'll talk about in the next category, like what kind of roles. Only the business changes. For example, manufacturing will have more of operations like plants, sales and revenues, but IT would not have so much of those, right? IT sectors will be mostly like the higher things in IT sector would be like what labor cost would be higher. Only the revenue portion will be there where the billing will be done on the POC method, like, the revenue recognition would be done on the completion of stage method. So all those things will be lesser in IT as compared to manufacturing. But the roles, if I talk about, remains more or less similar. The category of roles, not the work, but the category of roles, which I'll discuss further, will remain similar in both of the industries. Okay. So based on this, like, industry, what do you expect in industry? Like, you cannot just suddenly go saying that, I want to go in industries, but where you will go in industry, you should have an idea about all these terminologies, right? Where you want to apply correctly, because even if you want to search on LinkedIn, Naukri, or anywhere, right, you need to know what kind of roles are available for you to apply in the industry at the initial level, correct? So here what I have done in 2, 3 slides is I have bifurcated the types of roles which are available in the industry and which you can apply for by searching in LinkedIn, Naukri, or any other uh, platform as well. And contacting people on LinkedIn is a new way, right? Which I have also tried and it works very well. So that is the kind of platforms you have to approach, or the company websites, they post the vacancies. But for those vacancies, you need to know what is the suitable role for you to apply. Okay. So I'll just start with the first role, which is financial reporting and accounting. This is the most common role right now which you have in industry, since you might be aware that our country is like the become a hub of GCC for the companies, right? So with the company operates in any part of the world, but the centralized accounting is done from India, right? So eventually, when I see this, there's a very growing perspective in this particular role, because many MNCs are now setting up their, instead of outsourcing, they are setting up their own GCC here in India, so that they have a centralized accounting system here. So with that, obviously our roles and opportunities are also increasing with this initial growth of GCCs, right? So what kind of roles you have in GCCs? So firstly, I have written that, you are involved in the preparation of financial statements. Like, that's what we are expected, right? So like, being a CA, this role, like, I have worked in this role for almost 2, 3 years. And let me tell you, I have learned a lot from this role. I have learned in Caterpillar from this role. So it might be that the categories might be different. Like, for example, I have a financial statement preparation role, but I am given certain regions, but uh, I have to prepare FS for those regions accordingly. So obviously you won't be knowing the local gaps for those countries. You might be aware by the US gaps and Ind AS and IFRS, right? So you might be given some MENA regions. So you get to interact with the local teams and prepare the FS for them. So this is that kind of role where you help them preparing their financial statements. Obviously nowadays, since we have AI, right? Not everything is done in Excels. So you have multiple softwares which help you to do this. But the actual, like, the application of brain, like what adjustments to be done, what entries to be done, how the presentation of FS has to go. So those all things who helps, we help in that, right? For preparation, for supporting the audits, like who deals with the auditor, there should be a mediator face, right? So there we come into picture where we help the auditors, giving the details, the other side basically. You might have seen the Big Four side. Now we are seeing the other end, how it operates. So we are the mediators between the company and the auditors, that we help from the company's point of view in if any audit queries are there, how to resolve those, and support auditors in the further work as well. So this is a synopsis of the first line. The second kind of role in this, so just one quick thing here. So sometimes what happens is this, all the 3, 4 lines which I've written here, they come as a package. So you are given some entities, you are given a legal entity controllership role. If I talk in the sense of the role definition, the legal entity controllers, what they do is they are responsible, they're given some entities, and for those entities, they're responsible for end-to-end things. For example, you have to do month-end close. You don't have to do everything in month-end close, but you have to make sure that the AR side or AP side, everybody has done their part so that the entity, your entity for whom you're responsible, is closed appropriately. And obviously, if you are responsible, so you are responsible end-to-end. For example, the monthly closures happening on time, all the necessary entries which are required are done or not, whether you do it or you have to analyze the FS, you prepare the variance analysis for those entities. All those things are done by you. So end-to-end job of an entity is done by you, and you make sure that the entity closes appropriately so that it consolidates in the final consolidated entity as per your numbers shared, right? So your numbers plays a major role here while you work as a legal entity controller here. So if you go for searching a job with the definition legal entity controller, this is what the job expects from you, that you should do the end-to-end closing, get it done on appropriate timelines. Obviously, the close dates sometimes are hard because every company has a close days of the 3 or 5 days, right? So those 3 or 5 days would be hectic, but other than that, you have other reportings. But mostly the busy days would be the close days, right? Other than that, you might have some roles relating to preparation of some reconciliations. Like every company has certain set of accounts, right? For they analyze those accounts that once we have done the close, what went wrong and what are the numbers based on the variance analysis. So you prepare a reconciliation also, for example, lease expense, whether they are booked correctly or not. So all those things would be done by you rather than having a dependency on anybody else. The legal entity controller is the final responsibility for that entity. Correct. So that is your end-to-end responsibility. And during the year end, the same role, if I talk about the first one, as I mentioned, the audit and financial statement preparation, that also comes to you. So here you get it as a package role, basically, where you learn, like you start as an analyst, then you go ahead as a report controller, then a manager. So here you grow in different levels, whereby you might be given some regions first, then few entities first, sorry, then some regions, and thereby when you have a team that you might have to handle multiple regions at one go, how the team is operating, if they have any issues in those same, the final say how to deal with the issues, right? Because every issue is not simple. There might be some different teams, corporate accounting teams are different. There are multiple teams, right? So you act as a mediator to analyze how your entity has to close and how the numbers should report appropriately. So this is the complete thing for the financial reporting and accounting roles, which I have seen that it is growing as well, and uh, since many of the countries and MNCs are setting up here, this is a growing role as per my view in the current scenario. Then coming on to the most exciting role and the term which people say that, FP&A. But what actually is FP&A? So FP&A defines as financial planning and analysis, right? Sometimes people refer it to as like, it is an advanced accounting, but actually it is not advanced accounting. You need some accounting knowledge for it, but it is a very different role from the normal accounting roles what we have. So it is a separate line of business itself. For example, if I just give you a brief about it, because if I start talking about the detailed role, it will be, it will be taking few days actually, the detailed role. Because in FP&A also there are multiple bifurcations. For example, FP&A roles are not only set up at a company level, but also at the plant level or the business level. Okay. So there are 2, 3 types of FP&A role. One is where you directly deal with the plant side, where you have the business FP&A, where you deal directly, where you are directly at the, for example, manufacturing company. Okay. So you are directly at the plant side, you deal with the team, and what is your role in that? So your role comes as preparation of budgets, forecast, variance analysis. So that is a post step after the accounting is done. So if I relate the first and the second role, once the first role work is done, then the role of FP&A comes, whereby the FP&A teams analyzes like what happened and what was they projected and what the actual result is. So that which helps indirectly the management to take further decisions, right? So this is a post accounting role. Not you need certain accounting knowledge, but this is a different role rather than accounting, because for this role you need a business mindset, because here you are preparing some budgetings and forecasting, doing sensitivity analysis, right? Wow, like how much increase in sales will affect my profit increase, right? So all those decisions are made here in this role. So for this, with the accounting knowledge, you should obviously have some business insights to decide on the same, right? Obviously the final say will be of the management, but you are the ones who analyze all this and give an insight to the management that, what are the proposed actions can be taken. Correct. So there are multiple roles in this. That, as I mentioned, that business FP&A role teams who sits with the plant heads and decides, like, what is the sales, how can we improve the sales in the next quarter, what went wrong in the budget, how forecast can be corrected, how the expenses we need to curtail to whether some kind, for example, I'll not go deep dive into it, but just to give you a glimpse of how it works. I'm just giving you an example. For example, this role demands you to do a variance analysis. Okay. So you're not just expected to do a variance analysis that sales increased, but management would be more concerned why it increased, right? The first variance analysis part is already done by the first team, right? Now you need to give the clearer and more detailed insight to management so that they can take the actions upon it, right? So you have to tell that, whether the revenue increase, whether it was due to a product mix or it was due to a volume price increase, or what are the actual reasons behind it rather than the numbers increasing, right? Because the number analysis part is already done in the first step. This role requires a further insight, deep dive to be done, which is expected by you to be done as a FP&A analyst, with so that the management can aid their decision based on this information given. So this is the role, and also there are some corporate FP&A team. Obviously, since the companies are very huge, right? So all the business units cannot function individually, right? So there has to be a corporate FP&A team also who gathers the data from each of these business FP&A teams and give the insights to the top management or CEO at the consolidated level rather than going each business unit level. So this is a basic idea of what is FP&A role. And in the initial stage, what are you expected to do is prepare this actual budget. Like, for example, you will have certain roles, like monthly roles, quarterly roles. So what you are expected to do, year-end budget you have to prepare. Then you have to change your forecast based on the data you gather from the fields. For example, some changes happen in some due to some geopolitics. So how will it impact your business? So those all things, obviously teams will be there to guide you. For example, tax team will be there, treasury will be there, but you have to analyze the data based on taking inputs from all this team so that the final analysis can go to the management in this particular roles. So this is what this role talks about. So if you search FP&A roles, the initial level, obviously you'll be able to apply as an FP&A analyst, which is the entry level role for a FP&A analyst. Okay. I'll take all the questions, and then by the time if I'm speaking, you can type your questions in the chat so that I can look at all once and then we can discuss the same. Okay. Now coming to the next role, what is that is audit, risk and internal controls. So you might be thinking that again audit, we are leaving Big Four because of this, and now coming to industry again we are doing audit. So but this particular roles where plays a very important role in a company, and nowadays most of the organization have it. The organization obviously have it due to the statutory compliances, as you might have already studied about it, that there should be an internal controls team. But this team is the most important team in the organization. And also, as if I talk about the company visibility per se, this team has a very good visibility at the senior management level, because the team generally currently in the current scenario are centralized, right? So the team operates at one go, and the direct visibility is to the level of CEO. So this particular roles gives you a very good visibility. And obviously what are the insights you get from this particular role is, I'll tell you in further based on my experience, what I have done as well. So this is the internal audit and SOX compliance team. Okay. So what it does, there are set governances or controls, right, in which a company should operate, and you are the team who tests these controls at various level. So you test it maybe from a certain individual BU level or a company level. So all this testings, internal audits, you will be the one who will be performing this, and also sharing your reports with directly with the senior leadership of the company. So generally, if I just talk about the different roles, like I feel that this role is directly reporting to the CEO's office rather than other teams, because here you are directly giving the company's management insights to the CEO office, right? That what went wrong and how it can be corrected. All those things are done as a part of this role. And let me give an example in my experience, particularly when I was a part of the internal audit team and the SOX compliance team of my company. First of all, I was part of the project whereby, my company outsourced the accounting business to somebody else, the third party, right? But this internal control team was a company's team who made sure that everybody is in line. Like we are the, how do I say in simple terms, if I like, we are the teachers of the company there, right? We are keeping an eye on everyone, whether everything is working correctly or not. So we have that power and say that these things are not going as expected, so you need to have certain things the right way, right? So that is the say we have being a part of internal controls team. And when I was a part of that project, we tested each and every control so that it operates up correctly. And since the third party was involved, that all the things from our company's point of view and third party's point of view are aligned to our company policies, correct? So this is the most important role, like I would say, some like in the company that internal control team plays, and tests and give the visibility to the senior management that everything is operating as per the compliances and the governances. And obviously it saves company from the stat audit nuisances, obviously, and saves a lot of money for the company as well. So obviously this plays a very important role in the company. So here, how can you progress? Like you suggest the improvements in the company, and being in this role, you get the visibility of the company at the overall level. Like in some of the roles, you might be only having visibility to some of the areas. For example, if you're doing legal entity, just an example, you're only seeing your entity's point of view, right? If you're doing AR role, you're just seeing AR, you're doing AP, seeing AP roles. But this role gives you a visibility of overall company level, like all the divisions, everything operating in the company, not only from the financial point of view, but the operational point of view as well. So being in this role, you get to learn much more deeper about the company, and you get the visibility as well. So this is the role for audit, risk, and internal controls. Okay. So moving on to the next one, that is M&A and corporate finance. I'll not deep dive into M&A because I also do a certain portion of it. So maybe Sir can help you arrange a separate session if he asks for M&A. But I can just only help you with the sum of the portion of it, which I do as a part of my industry. Since I'm involved in the oil and gas company, so they have an immense number of mergers and acquisitions happening during the year round. Okay, so that is where my role lies up, that I have to liaison with the tax team, with the legal team, to like they prepare obviously the first hand analysis, like what is the company they're trying to acquire and what is the company they're trying to merge based on the local tax requirements and all those things, and the business obviously expansion. But when our role comes in is preparing a report for them, that like there is a team who supports me for preparing the financial due diligence, and whether it would be feasible for the company to go into that merger or not, how's the valuation to be done for that company, how much would be the goodwill, all those things. This M&A roles gives an opportunity to analyze like what actually should be done. And not only these roles, but along with this, you get to do the complete merger and acquisition, right? So you do it from end to end, preparing from the initial report to the end like the books are closed and the company is inactivated from your books. So you do an end-to-end thing here. So in this you get to learn many things like what we have studied, right? Like how the consolidation works. Once the merger is done, how the books will be consolidated, what are balances if there are certain balances which are remaining, right? Obviously you sell the company, you do not sell, there are certain balances which are remaining, so how those will be taken care of. And from the accounting point of view, I'm talking about, because the tax side of it would be handled by the tax team. So you have different teams there, right? So the tax team will handle the taxation part of it, but the accounting part, the handling the company from the M&A perspective, the end-to-end M&A process, you will be the one who will be taking care of along with the other teams. So that is where the role in industry in a short span, if I talk about the M&A role, talks about that. And obviously when you're doing a merger and acquisition, you work with the corporate finance team, because you have to consolidate it eventually in the main company books, right? So how do you do that? What are the things to be taken care of? What balances, like CTA balances, what will happen to CTA, what will happen to this tax balances which are pending, whether it will be written off or transferred. So all those things you get to learn by working with the corporate finance team. So you're directly working in corporate finance team in the end, we can say that. So that is what in crux about this role. Because in detail, I would need Sir's help, because there's a separate area in companies as well. But from my experience point of view, this is a small role which my company offers for a certain M&A position. Okay. Then going on to the next role, which is becoming very interesting nowadays, whereby it is finance transformation and automation. So currently, our job is not only restricted now to the typical finance work, as we tell that, only preparation of FS and closing books or whatever audits we need to do. Now we have a new set of role for us created based on the new systems, right? So now companies are adopting various systems for their simplification of their tasks, right? So they need CAs to implement those systems. So specifically, job openings are created for us to help companies to implement those new ERP systems. Just an example, if I give you that, if I mentioned here Workiva. Okay, so Workiva is a tool which helps companies to create financial statements. Okay, so that they all the FS of the company lies in one consolidated platform rather than be preparing financials in Excel. Workiva gives you a platform to create FS. But initially, when a change happens, right, everybody in the company is hesitant, they need to be coached, and everything has to be done right. So companies right now hire professionals to help with the implementation of these ERP systems. Okay, so that's where our role lies. Like we have to first test whether it will be feasible for the company or not. So what will be our role is first testing whether the system is built in such a manner which will support our company financials or not, what additional requirements are needed, what modifications are needed from the developers point of view, because developers won't understand the accounting point of view of it, right? We will be the ones who will be mediating, bridging the gap between the two, the developer and the company, that what exactly the requirements are. So this is just one of the examples. Similarly, you have SAP and Oracle implementation. Some of the companies are using very old systems, so they are moving to the new improvised ERPs. So for their implementation also they need chartered accountants, right? So this is what this role talks about. Some of the companies specifically have CAs in this role separately for their in-house softwares. For example, if I talk about, there is in Wipro, if I just talk about, there is a role for this transformation specifically. So whatever new softwares Wipro creates, the team of CAs sitting there helps first of all in creation of those software based on the accounting and the company's objective, and how they bridge the gap between the two from the accounting point of view, that how it should be. For example, a company needs a lease software to be developed. The developer might not know what are the parameters we need, right? But we will be the one who will be guiding the developer that, we need the IRR option, we need the initial lease option, commencement date, all those things, so that the system can work and create the amortization schedule as we need, as the company requires. So in this role, we are that bridging gap between the two. So it's not a high tech role, I would say, but yeah, it requires accounting knowledge. But with that, we are supporting the implementations of various software as well. So with this role, we obviously learn some of the IT systems well. So that is the added advantage in this. And this role currently is also a very growing role where you can apply if you don't want to do the monotonous, as we say, the typical accounting roles. This is also one of the roles where you can apply in the companies. Okay. Now, I think it's a repetition that GCCs, as I mentioned, that, people are setting GCCs here in India. So there are multiple job opportunities here with multiple roles. Like they supply, like they help us to create a centralized accounting team here in India, so that it can be catered to all of the world from one place rather than operating in different countries. Companies can have a centralized accounting system set up here. So in that, you can have multiple roles, like area specific roles as well. For example, you can have a role in AP team, you can have a role in AR team or treasury team, if I talk about that specifically. And there are multiple roles, right? So you can be anywhere. There's a separate segment for FA as well. Like if you have interest in like fixed assets, so there's a specific segment for FA role itself where people, like I have seen, just an example, like Infosys has this kind of setup here in India, right? So there people are there in the FA team who are growing, not only growing good in the role, but are growing since many years. So you can be one of them, right? So there, these are the kind of multiple roles which you can apply in multiple industries. I have not mentioned all of the roles, but just to give you a glimpse that, you might have heard just the fancy terms, what are those roles, but the actual work, what goes into those roles was my purpose to guide you, like, how that role works. Before you proceed with applying for the jobs, you should be clear on those roles so that, you can apply where your interest lies rather than just simply applying wherever it is the vacancies are there. So that is what is the initial uh, idea about what are these roles and how it operates in the industry. More or less in manufacturing and in IT, these roles are similar. So like even if you apply in IT industry, you will have these kind of roles in IT industry as well, like financial reporting, audit risk, everything will be there in the IT industry as well. Only the nature of work will differ. Like for example, as I told you that in manufacturing will be more about the purchase, sales and everything, but IT would be more focused on the revenue and the labor cost if I talk about the major cost. So these all will be the differences, but the role per se, things would be same. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Before we move on to the question and answer session, I actually wanted to go ahead with these two slides. Like I have seen like the CAs, freshly CAs who are joining my team as well and other industries as well. So we feel that, I know that we have cleared a very tough exam, which was very difficult. But whenever we start doing work, you should go with an open mindset. Okay. So as soon as you join a company, nobody will give you a final FS and saying that, you analyze and we'll just sign it. Correct. So it will take time, right? You have to build that credibility. You have to work and show your performance that you are capable enough. Then once that credibility is built, people will actually trust you, and then that rapport will be built up at a certain stage. Okay. So initially, you should go with an open mindset that if somebody is not a qualified person as you should take advices from everyone. There's no harm in learning from anyone. You can learn from anybody in the organization. So you should go with an open mindset whenever you join any organization, whether it's a big four, it's an industry. So you should go with an open mindset, and you should have a ownership mindset. Like I know we are doing a job, right? And we are getting paid for it monthly. But if you go with the treat a role like it's your ownership, like it's a business for you, right? It's your own role. Then definitely you will improvise the things there and you will be able to progress very early as compared to others. If you do not have that mindset, you will not be able to grow in industry. This gives you an advantage maybe in progressing, and obviously your ratings are good, if you have that ownership mindset, obviously you will make that task, whatever you're doing, more simplified, more as like, how do I say that? Like, if you consider something work as your own, you will give more respect to it, and you will try to do better version of it, right? So that is what you should have it. Whatever the role you get in the first stage, you should have that ownership mindset, and not as a task that, okay, I have something is given to me, I'll just finish it and give it. If you have that mindset, it will take time, but obviously it will take a longer amount of time to grow with that mindset. So in the fast-paced environment, you need to have that mindset of ownership and treat your task like a business, not treat your role as a business, not as a task. This will help you grow in the organization. And the next thing is, you have to go beyond syllabus. Till now, whatever you have studied is done, right? Now you are entering the practical side of it. So the things there are done a bit differently. So you have to start learning from that point of view. I know that you have learned through your books that this should be done in a certain manner, right? But sometimes the things are different. So you should be having that mindset to learn from the practical point of view also, like how things are done, what will be the actual impact of this. You might have studied so many things, but the practical implication of the same is yet to be learned by you, right? So you should have that curiosity to learn beyond the syllabus as well. And definitely the next point, that strong fundamentals. Accounting basics never go out of demand. Still now, I am 9 years experience, but still whenever I do some projects or M&A projects, I have to prepare some entries, like review some entries. I go by my basics, like debit what comes in, credit what goes out. That will never go out of your life. So you need to be strong on your fundamentals, all those 11, 12. If I talk about CA, forget CA, 11, 12 fundamentals. If those are strong for you, you can clear everything. Like, even it's a very big task, you can go ahead with the same, like, I decide on the dividend distributions and everything, share buyback, all those things. I go by my basic fundamentals and then I work on that. So it will give you an advantage when, if your strong fundamentals are clear, like your basic accounting is clear, it will help you clear everything. Communication and stakeholder management. Okay. So this is where the whole crux of it lies. Like, building a rapport with the team and communicating your like work and the ideas clearly to the management. It will help you to grow like anything in the organization. Like, and second thing is, if you are not understanding everything, people are there very helpful, they'll guide you, right? So you don't have to be hesitant that, I have cleared CA, how can I ask this to someone? It's nothing bad to ask it, because you have done from a theoretical point of view now and you are entering a practical world. So obviously some things might be different, right? So it's no harm in asking help from anyone, even though they're not qualified or whatever it is. But it's no harm in helping. And obviously, you should have the mentality, if somebody comes you for help, you should be willing to help. So, like that cross helping and that communicating and everything. And communicating your deadlines, your performance with your management, like or cost management or peers or anything, will help you to grow only in the organization. It will not stop you. Like, if you take somebody's help, they will not complain that, okay, this person has asked me this simple question. So whatever it is at the initial stage, you're free. Like, you have that open pass that you can ask anything from anyone, but obviously not illogical questions. Do your research first from the chat, because now you all are well versed with chat GPT, right? So do your research first, all the analysis, everything you do. Still you are stuck somewhere, obviously you need some guidance, go and ask for help without any shame. So since you're at the beginning stage, people will guide you and help you. People are good, they're happy to help wherever you go. Okay, this is what I have learned based on my journey. So I just wanted to share it with you, so that whenever you enter an industry, you have this mindsets and curiosity, so that you will be also be able to grow further in your career. Okay. Now, this is more of a philosophy, you might feel, but actually it's the crux of everything. So don't go beyond chasing designations, okay? Chase learning. For example, a person might be an assistant manager somewhere and somebody can be an analyst only, right? But that analyst level person in some position is learning more rather than an AM level person. They're just happy with their title, right? That I am a AM, I am an analyst. It makes no difference. You focus on your learning because this is your entry phase, your learning phase. So don't go for designations or titles. Focus on your learning. You will definitely grow based on that. Designations will come for you if you have that learning. So focus on your learning rather than just focusing on the designations. And the next point is, which you might be thinking that, what if I take a wrong job in my first career? Okay. There's nothing as a wrong job. You are starting. So wherever you go, it's a learning phase for you. So you will learn from that process. And once you feel that, okay, this is not my interest, I want to pursue this, you can any day switch, right? So since you might know that I started from a big four, but I moved to industry afterwards, right? But I learned so many things being in big four which helped me to move to industry, correct? So there's no wrong starting point. Wherever you go, it will help you to learn only. It will not block your growth or like you feel that I'm stuck at a wrong place. It will help you to learn wherever you go since it's a beginning phase for you. Okay. So eventually you will reach your destination because you need to figure out where you want to go finally, right? But there's no wrong starting point. Wherever you start with, it will be a learning phase for you. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. Growth happens there. So as I mentioned earlier also, if starting days you are uncomfortable, later on years you'll be more comfortable because people will have credibility on you. So like it will be easier and smoother for you to progress and grow further once you have crossed that uncomfortable stage of life. Like I will not exaggerate it, and ideally I should not. That slogging for hours is a good thing or anything. But I'm just telling that, since Big Four gave me that the opportunity, I had to work there, and not even Big Four industry, I had to set up some companies there, transition some companies. I had to be uncomfortable at the starting point because the laws were different, everything was different. But once I've built that repo, it helped me even to move out also. For example, my prior bosses have referred me to a new, better opportunity job. So that's how, once somebody has that comfort level and the confidence level on you, they will help you eventually grow in life. So it's up to you how you want to proceed, like being uncomfortable in the starting or at a later point in time, because starting you can be uncomfortable and then later enjoy the perks of it. So that, what I feel is, would be more relevant rather than when you grow old and then you have to be uncomfortable. That will be a very difficult task. So same, next thing, same, build credibility through consistent work. So whatever you work, give it your best. So that's how you will build your credibility, not just complete the task as given, right? If you improvise, if you make things easier for yourself as well, it will give a strong edge for you, a competitive edge for you as compared to peers, right? So your credibility will be built on your work. Okay, nothing else, no office politics, nothing. Whatever work you're doing, how you're improvising, what changes you're bringing, that will only build a credibility for you, which will help you to grow. And the last one, speak less, deliver more. So in corporates, you might have heard that, industry has so much of politics and all those things. Like if your work speaks for yourself, then you don't have to speak for you, right? So that is what is the ending note from my end, that you let your work speak for you rather than you have to advertise yourself that I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Let your work speak for yourself rather than you speaking for it. Okay, I have certain more slides. I'll just see what's the time. Yeah, I should have some time for the questions as well. So I've just given a glimpse here, like, what are the stages and roles? How do you enter an organization in the industry? Like first, the entry stage, which you will have, and how you'll grow in the organization. The entry stage is like 0 to 3 years. You enter as an analyst, accountant, associate. These are your designation when you enter, right? So here you will be focused on building accounting and reporting fundamentals, month-to-end closures, audits, reconciliations, all those things you will be doing as a part of your entry-level analyst role. Then as you grow further in the corporate ladder, you will be senior analyst, finance manager, controller, will be leading some teams, handling the analysis, like basically the analysis will be a joint effort. It's just that the lead, it will be the finance manager's end-to-end responsibility, right? The ownership lies on the finance manager, the whatever the analyst does. So that is how your role will grow there as an analyst. Then obviously in the corporate ladder, you'll be a senior finance manager, director, head of finance. You'll be leading multiple teams, divisions. All those things will come with a certain stage, certain years of experience. And then it will be the final stage where you can be a CFO or finance leader and partnering with the CEO and shaping the company's future. Like you will be the end-to-end finance head, right? CFO is what, Chief Finance Officer. So it'll be the up ultimate finance authority there, with obviously the support from the multiple teams which you will have. So that is how your career will grow over time. Okay. But that's what I've written, that your designations obviously will change with time, but your growth depends on the skills you build and the impact you create. So that is how it is. Like as I've been mentioning, that designations will change, but obviously your growth will depend on what skill set you have built, how good you are in building a rapport with the teams, and not only at the initial level but also at the next level you might have to manage teams. So how good you are at it, those all things will be taken into consideration in your career growth. Okay, so this is the final slide which I have. So, like, before you go into any role, just think that what you want to be in 5 years, right? As a typical interview question, I might say, but you have to think it for yourself. Like, okay, I want to be an audit leader, so I'll go and audit. If I want to be an FP&A analyst, I'll go here. I don't like numbers more. I like business side of it more, so I will go in FP&A role. Somebody might say that no, I am more into numbers. I don't like working without numbers, so I will go in the financial reporting role where I'll be more involved with the numbers. So that is what you will decide based on what you are looking for yourself in 5 years. And also, Joe, don't just focus on just experiences, like just, okay, I'm doing working here for 1 year, 2 year. Focus on what you have learned there. Even though you have worked somewhere for 1 year, what is the skill set you have learned? It might be a very small skill set that you have learned a new system, or you have transitioned something, or you have learned the reporting. But you should more focus on acquiring the skill set rather than just collecting the experiences. And all those things I will not read now because it's time. So I need some time for questions as well. So yeah. So in the end, just
thank you, Ayushi,
thank
for
you.
sharing such a valuable insight with all the candidates. And as you said, now we can have few questions from the participants, so that if they have any question,
Sure.
they can put it in chat box or they can raise their hand so that Ayushi will answer them.
Sure. Okay, I'll read the first one. Role almost automated, then what are we supposed to contribute in this profile? So Hitesh, are you mentioning about the process transformation role? Just to be clear before answering. Sit. Okay. So in process transformation role, the role is automated, right? But what those are like creating new systems and ERP implementations in the company, right? So, for example, my company is operating on a very old system right now. Okay. So now it is planning that it move to a more technical system, like more advanced system, right? So for that, I need some help. First of all, to create that new advanced system, people should have a accounting expertise as well, right? The developers will not know what I want as per my requirement, right? So that's where our role will come, that we will help them bridge that gap, that okay, that accounting has to be done in certain manner, so you need this AP breakup, AR reporting, and all those things, where how the invoices has to be done, how the JEs has to be done, and how well reports we need from the system for some analysis, inventory reports. So those all things we will be helping them to build as well as implement once it is created. So that's where the role is, even though it's automated, but before automating it, you have to create it, right? So that creation, the bridge, like what all is expected from that system, we will help for that. And also once it is created, how it has to be implemented, for that also we will help. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Next is articleship in BFSI and aiming for industry, FP&A. So I have to proceed also with the clear paper jobs. Okay. So, Kartavya, for your question. So, since you are in the initial phase, like I know that articles experience in a different profile and now you want to switch profiles. So it is fine. Like since you're in the beginning phase of the career, they will take based upon your experience, but your knowledge on the interview level. Because as I mentioned earlier, for the FP&A role, it is a post accounting role, right? So they are testing your business knowledge, and obviously you are entering at the analyst level. So they will not expect too much from you that you should know everything. But you should have that business mindset when you're going in FP&A role. So that is what they test you in their interviews as well. They will not test anything. And just to give you a guidance, there are certain like courses, I would say, or small videos you might know from YouTube or ChatGPT. You can refer and prepare yourself for that role even. Like you won't believe, I have also prepared certain roles from those videos. There are some financial modeling, FP&A courses available, which gives you very good clarity on what the roles is, what deep dives you to more specific questions, which you can prepare for your interview as well from those courses. And you can prepare from there, because since you'll be entering at the very initial level, they won't be seeing your prior experience, because since you're just entering the role, right, you're free to go wherever you want. So if your articleship experience is different, then also it won't matter, because it's a post facto role. They'll just test your business knowledge, accounting, and a few of the accounting knowledge. That's it. And for LinkedIn or referral, okay. So currently you can go to LinkedIn, like it's what I have heard from my juniors who have did the same with me. For example, like wherever you are having searching the roles, right? If you can directly apply, or you can just reach out to the people who are working in those companies, have a chat with them over LinkedIn to understand the role better, and they might also refer you in the company if it's easier and faster way. Otherwise, company portals are very good. Like if LinkedIn Naukri premiums are there where you can apply. But there's an alternative route also, if you want to go through referral channel, is reach out to the people working in that role in those companies in LinkedIn. So have a word with them, take some guidance, and then ask them to refer you. People are there, they need referrals any which way. So they'll help you proceeding with that role. Okay. Exit opportunities in finance transformation. Okay. So exit opportunities, as in like you want to move from that finance transformation role to a typical accounting role, you can any day do that, right? Since we are in such a diversified course that it gives us that privilege to shift wherever we want, correct? So even though you are in this role of finance transformation, your accounting knowledge still is intact, right? So you can switch from that role to any of the like financial reporting roles, even though there might be some experiences lag here and there. Like you are expecting to move from a manager position to a manager position. If you are good at your accounting background and managing the team, they will take for you, because companies know that, like, if they're hiring a CA, fresh qualified CA, they will be like willing to learn enough, since they have already learned such a big course, right? They just test some things from you, like where your willingness to learn. That is what they're looking for. So it will not be difficult to switch from that role. It's just that they will test your willingness to learn, because anywhere you go, you have to start from scratch, right? So they will test how good at how good are you in showing the willingness to learn, and then rest is up to your interview experience. They will not deep dive, but obviously they'll just test your basic accounting knowledge. So you can move from there. LinkedIn help for getting opportunity. Do you help use it personally? Yeah, as I mentioned, PAG, I guess. So as I said, I also do the same thing. If I have a certain role which I like, I personally try to reach out to the people working here so that I can get a first-hand experience of how the company is and how they're operating. And but once you get the idea about the role from them, and they can refer as well. So that is, yeah, LinkedIn helps in getting the opportunity by connecting it with the people who are actually working there in the company. Any other ways than campus placements, LinkedIn referrals to get the job? Get the job. You have Naukri, Premium, and other platforms as well. So
And you have us as well. We are here to help
yeah,
you. So you can
the D2B
fill up,
placements is
you
there. You
can be
can
there in our WhatsApp groups, and we float all the vacancies there. So you can apply from there, and we'll share your profile to the clients, and in this way you can apply.
How can you negotiate better in industrial jobs? So generally, industry pays much better. Now everybody has that set that initial bar same, right? I think Big Four also pays initially good only now. They have revised their pay structures. So at the initial level, I guess it's good. It's just that the startups pay a very huge amount of salary in the beginning, and the salaries in FP&A roles are different because the role is also more demanding, right? So you have to prove yourself to get that role, that you are capable enough to pick up that role from the analysis level itself, because you are in competition there with the MBAs, right? Because that role does not require typical accounting knowledge. So you should be good enough to compete with them to get good packages. So that's what I can say. And before you go anywhere, you search the industry norms, like how much the industry is paying in those sector at the initial level, and then you do your analysis. You have so many platforms, Glassdoor and other things, talking to people, so you get a range, like what are they paying to their analyst level. That's how you can get an idea for better negotiation. So before you go, you can, right, what is their range of analyst level, so accordingly you can negotiate with them for the salary as well. Work in a Big Four for 2-3 years and then switch over to industry. So it all depends on your choice whether you want to go in Big Four or industry. Like I personally, I initially I didn't think that I'll go to Big Four. I always thought that I'll go to industry, but I got an opportunity, and since like I've always been in one place, I've not moved out to other city. I thought that, Big Four will give me that edge where I can build networks as well. I can learn many things there, being in a new city, in a new environment. So that edge I was given by a brand, Deloitte, right? I was in Deloitte. So that gave me an edge to move over in industry as well. Like my first industry switch was through a Big Four contact. So that helped me, but it depends individually. You can start with the industry as well. Like for example, I have people reporting to me who have directly joined industry. They are not Big Four, they're not Big Four experience, right? But they're doing very well in the industry as well. So it all depends, like, what is your choice? Obviously, it gives you an edge, but if you are starting ahead in the industry, you can grow more faster in industry, right? So it all depends on your choice and what you want to pursue first. How to get good clarity before joining any kind of firm, training to how to analyze that. Okay. So before joining any company, I would say that, you just don't apply anywhere, just randomly applying just for the sake of applying. You first do what I do, a star analysis, basically, like not a star analysis exactly, but what are the company strengths, how is the work culture there, and how do I know that? Like obviously I'm not working for that company, so I will not know all of these things. How is the work environment? What is the growth perspective there? So all these things, as I mentioned earlier, like I reach out to somebody working in the company, right? From there I get this all the point of view, collect from everyone this info, and then analyze whether I should go or not, whether the company will support my growth perspective or not. So those all things can be inferred from this different kinds of sources only. Otherwise, you can do a company's background analysis from ChatGPT. It will give you a synopsis. You might be more well versed with the ChatGPT usage than me. That how to use that for your reference and how to analyze the company. You can see the financials of the company for 4-5 years. See what is its growth rate, how the company is performing. So all those things you can infer before you move on to a decision, like, I need to join this company, and analyze what are the divisions the company have if you want to move. For example, some company offers in the initial phase that you can work in different departments and then finally decide which is the final department you want to work. So you can search for those kind of roles as well. Like if you have that clarity that, okay, I want to test further where I like the best, and then choose from those particular roles that I want to be in this particular role and accordingly join that role. Some companies offer that process in the initial level as well. I don't know what we call now, but earlier we had that in Wipro and some other companies we used to call that Wipro cohort. Pooja, you might help me in this if we still have those kind of roles going on anywhere.
Yes, they are going on. Even yesterday,
Yeah.
day before yesterday, we had a session with Wipro only for the same.
Okay. Yeah. So those kind of roles you can apply to see where you lie the best so that you can choose from that. To work culture, my question was that joining any company for artificial, how to know that this background is very good. I didn't get your question clearly, Nikhil. Joining. You mean the company's background is good? Which domain we need to select? Okay. Okay. Like the taxation perspective, if you're okay. So industry. Okay. So there is a myth that, Big Fours and other companies only offer taxation roles. I should tell you that in industry, we have a separate subdivisions of taxation as well available in the industry as well. Though I might not be the best person to answer those questions, but I have my friends working, like for example, in corporate taxation, individual taxations. So, like all these roles are there in the industry as well, whereby, like you for the taxation profile, if you're keen on going in the taxation profile, you have roles available in the industry as well. If you do not want to go by the Big Four route, you have separate roles in the industry as well. And selection per se, like it's up to your choice. If you're more inclined towards taxation, you can definitely go and work for a taxation Big Four company or any industry, whatever you like. And if you don't like after a certain point of time, as I said, that it's a starting point. You can switch right now wherever you want to go and build your interest, right? Maybe if you're working in a company that in the taxation team and suddenly you feel that, okay, I want to move here, switch roles, the company itself might give you an opportunity to more different role in a different department, right? So thereby you don't need any referrals because you will be already there in the company to switch roles. And you will have managers who can vouch for your work, right? That your work is credible, so you can be easily move from one department to another. Hope that answers the question.
I guess you are done with all the questions, or anyone?
Yes,
Is anyone?
I guess I'm done with all the questions.
Thank you. First of all, you have a glass of water because you're continuously speaking from last 1.5 hour.
Yeah, I'll have it. It's okay.
Thank you everyone, all the participants, and special thanks to Ayushi as you have pulled out time for us in the weekdays, and you have almost answered my call every time whenever I call during your office hours also. So
Issues.
thank you so much for sharing such a valuable insight with all the participants. I hope it helped everyone to decide their career and take a better decision.
Sure. And if you have any queries, you can ping people on LinkedIn without any hesitation, but give them the breathing time to respond. Don't just spam messages, otherwise, people will not respond. So, just a quick advice here, piece of advice: ping people, but give them the breathing time to respond before you send them a follow up message. Okay. My LinkedIn ID, you need Pooja can ping it on the chat if you
Yes,
have any
I'll
question.
bring it.
Yeah,
And if anyone is having any more questions, you can keep it
sure,
posted
sure.
on our WhatsApp group. So Ayushi or Deepak sir will definitely answer it. And
Sure,
thank
sure.
you. We can end it now. Thank you. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you,
You.
Ayushi, once
Thank you,
again.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.